You are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. Yeah, it's lit in the Chop Shop. Turn your dials up in the drop top. They ain't based the debate, but they keep it fact straight. Going 30 for 30, let's do a first take. On Facebook Live from 12 to 2. Rob Hatter and Jim Hicks going back and forth like Carter Ray and Skip Bayless and Stephen Smith. From on the court, off the court, straight to the field. Not a man that steals, but I made it steal. To the octagon where I fight to kill. We go face to face, then you write your will. I don't play tennis, but I bring the racket. I'm on the floor, I attack the basket. Put you in the casket when I'm overlapping. Never showing mercy, cause I'm always snapping. Never showing mercy when I'm in the arena. Step into the ring, he hit me as I beat him. Step into the court, I'm never backing down. Killing competition, I'm smacking down. Let me get back to the other stuff at the Chop Shop, cause they cutting up. It's Retro coming to you live to the Chop Shop. Now let's turn it up. Yeah, we in the Chop Shop, man. Shout out to Jim Hicks and Rob Hatter. You can catch the Chop Shop live from 12 to 2 on Facebook Live. Let's get it. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. We live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk. We live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop. I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up. It's live in the Chop Shop.
H-Town, what's up? You know what time it is. It's time for the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim, the Cheat Sheet Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas, but we're broadcasting all over the world via Facebook Live and YouTube Live. It's a great Monday. I love Mondays. And first of all, Jimmy, I liked it on this yesterday. In 1975, Arthur Ashe became the first black man to win Wimbledon. He upset heavily favored Jimmy Connors. Jimmy, and that was special in my life because Jimmy Connors was my favorite player back then because he was a lefty. And I played tennis left-handed, but Arthur Ashe was my hero, but Jim Connors was my favorite player. And in 1975, those were my heroes. But Jimmy, today, because we didn't do it, Jimmy, I want to tip my hat to the Negro Baseball League. It took us 6. We've been having all these guests.
That's like a president hat.
Yeah, I got my president, Barack Obama. Hold on now. So Barack Obama inauguration hat.
Is that a hint who you voting for? You got a red one?
Well, I can't vote for Barack. Look, January, I'm trying to get it where y'all can see it. January
How many different colors you got in that hat?
Huh? How many what?
How many different colors you got in that hat?
Oh, I just got one. I just got one. This one.
Okay, I want to make sure you ain't have no red one.
No, I just got one. Oh, hell. Come on, man. Come on, that's you and your partner. But you know what? Before Jimmy interrupt me, let me tell y'all something. The Negro Leagues, they had its 100-year anniversary, and we on the Chop Shop, because we had all these guests last week, we did not talk about it. And I'm tipping my cap to the men in the Negro League that endured challenges and struggles that you could never imagine. They didn't receive the attention they deserved. The landscape of professional sports would not be what it is today without them. And let me tell you something. It's the 100-year anniversary with Jimmy. Ex-civil rights leaders, ex-presidents, athletes join in for a virtual salute. Jackie Robinson and Satchel Paige were former players being honored. And Jimmy, I got a chance to listen to Bob Hendrick. Bob Kendrick. I don't know if you know who that is. He's the president of the Negro the Negro Baseball Museum in Kansas City, Missouri. Someone broke into. I told you about this earlier, Jim. About a couple of weeks ago, somebody broke into the Negro Museum a while back, and they broke the water vein and flooded the museum. So it's been closed since March 14th, and I just can't think of a better time to bring it up, considering all of the social discourse that we are seeing in this country, Jimmy. And I want to give you a glimpse to the people who ain't never been. I want to give you a glimpse of what's overcome. I mean, the Negro Museum is a glimpse of what overcoming adversity is all about. That's the story of the Negro Leagues. Jimmy, I don't know if you studied them. I know you was a baseball player. I wasn't a baseball player, so I didn't study this. I've studied this later in my life. But I feel it's a social justice museum. It's a civil rights museum seen through the lens of baseball. Jimmy, like I said, it was this 100-year anniversary, which was interrupted by the coronavirus. They had big celebrations had planned. It's one of the most significant things that ever happened to me in American history. Jimmy, there is still 100 of the Negro League players that are still alive right now. I don't know if you know it, but two of the living greatest major leaguers and former Negro League stars were the great Henry Aaron and Willie Mays. Jimmy, it set the stage long time ago for how much talent was in the Negro Leagues. I mean, you can interject any way you want. I got to tell this story because a lot of people don't know this story. For those who were skeptical about the talent in the Negro Leagues, just look at the two living greats that we got that also played in Major League Baseball. And Jimmy, and I know you know this, Jackie Robinson wasn't the best player in the Negro Leagues.
By far.
Okay, but he was the what? Right guy. Because if he didn't work, it was over. I heard. I was reading up, they said if he didn't work. And Jimmy, did you know this? Jackie Robinson cut his teeth in the Negro League. Did you know that? He just didn't walk up there and start playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers, Jimmy. His real rookie season was in Kansas City in 1945. Yeah. I didn't know that he played for the Kansas City Monarchs. I didn't know that. And his style, Jimmy, he picked up while he was in the Negro Leagues. That aggressive.
You might need to go back and watch 41 again, I guess, and pay. You know, that might be your movie of the week to go check out.
42. I thought it was 42. 42.
Yeah.
No. I did. No. I mean, it just didn't bring to my memory, but that's all right. But let me tell the visitors, to people about the museum. Let me give them a little bit about the museum. What you see if you go to the museum, because I'm going. I'm already got it. Soon as I'm gone like a turkey through the cone. But Jimmy, if I can paint a picture for you, not to you, because you done seen it. They say when you walk into the Negro Museum, Jimmy, imagine you walk yourself into an old ballpark. Okay?
Yeah.
You're walking in, okay? And when you walk through the turnstile, the first thing you see is the field. Okay?
Yeah, they got a little replica of a field right there.
Yeah.
It's not real grass.
Grass
or nothing. No. It's just a little replica.
Yeah. They call it the legend. They call it the Field of Legends, Jimmy. There on that field are 10 life-size bronze sculptures of the Negro League greats, and they are all in the position as they're playing the game. And the reason they had 10, Jimmy, they said 10 players represent the first group of Negro League players that were inducted in Cooperstown in the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's why they did the 10. And how they chose this all-star team, Jimmy? They said on the outside, who playing the manager was Buck O'Neil. I remember him because he just died not too long ago. He was managing the great all-star team, and Jimmy, did you know this? Because I didn't see this on 42, Mr. Smarty. On this, in the field, in the museum, it is separated by chicken wire. Guess why, Jimmy? As a backstop was chicken wire. For those who may not be familiar, chicken wire is symbolic of American segregation. During the segregation era, the African Americans who were allowed to watch major league games were separated by the chicken wire. The white people over here, the chicken wire, and they didn't show that in 42, Jimmy. I didn't see that one in 42.
Now what it is, if anybody ever go to Kansas City and you take out the time to go to the Negro League Museum, it was located right downtown in the heart where their Union Square is in Kansas City. Now the thing is, I want to add is also in town, if you have transportation, the field for which Satchel Paige pitched at and they played at was when I was there, it was still not at that location, but on the other side of town. I went and drove to the field and just got out and walked over there and just kind of like the Field of Dreams, just closed my eyes and just smelt it all in. You could actually, the field where they played at. And that sometimes when you're able to do that, something of such, it's public. It's not cornered off or sectioned off. It's right there. You just got to know where you're going. Otherwise, everybody in St. Louis Kansas City knows where it is. But that was a great thing. And also inside that museum, how about this? You guys know the criminal element which dwelled inside of me for many years in the past. I was in the first time I was there. I went twice. I whipped out my cell phone and tried to make me a little old thing, take a couple of snaps. I didn't realize, they have signs. I don't mean you read them, but they had signs all up front. They prohibit you from taking pictures, video, or whatnot inside the Negro Museum. They want to preserve that. It's kind of like if you go to the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., no video, even though there are some out there, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to respect that part.
You can do that. No, you can do that in that museum. You can take all the pictures you want up there, Jim. Yeah. Okay. You can take all the pictures you want up there. Yeah.
They don't want any of that. They want to preserve that. I mean, you have to come see it in person. And also, speaking of that, which later on in the top of the hour, there's not many people alive in the sports industry who is qualified enough to speak on the attributes of the Negro Leagues than Ralph Cooper. Ralph Cooper is expected to join us at the top of the hour, guys, and we'll take a blast to the past of those days, in the atmosphere. And sometimes, of course, a lot of you guys may know a whole lot about that. But sometimes you need to sharpen your pencil and just be refreshed. Because every time I hear a Negro League story, I promise you there's going to be something that's going to be added on to what you probably already know. Like, the thing that fascinates me is the nicknames. The nicknames are just off the charts, from different guys that played in the Negro League, in the Negro Leagues back in those days. And the amount of talent, and when people realize that, like I said, Satchel Paige, Jackie Robinson, those weren't the two. It's kind of like in today's society.
Josh Gibson?
Josh Gibson and other. Those weren't, in today's society, let's say the kid who gets picked who gets offered by a blue blood may not necessarily be the best guy that the community has anointed as the best guy. It doesn't happen like it all the time. But then that school may be looking for the perfect fit, not necessarily the best player. And that's something how you can transform it. And it worked out pretty good for its history, but that is definitely, you guys know I can go and go all day talking
baseball. We're going to take a break, but I want to come back and give my wrap up of it, because it was a story I wanted to end with, but I'm glad you gave your take about it, because you have actually been. I haven't actually been. I just looked at renditions and talking to people. I had a chance to speak with the director over the event, and because some friends of mine know him, and it's just unbelievable, Jimmy, that I've been spent a whole lifetime like I have and not understanding the significance of it. But guess what? We're gonna take a quick break, and we gonna be back, and I'm gonna end that thing for you, Jimmy. All right, chop chop. We'll be back in a minute.
I'm a young black man doing all that I can to stay. Oh, when I look around and I see what's being done to my kind, every day I'm being called to this parade. My people don't want no trouble. We gotta go struggle. I just wanna live. God protect me. I just wanna live. I just wanna live.
What's up, young man? Hey! Dog.
I can't breathe. I still can't breathe. My arms are up, sir. What did I do? Can you please tell me what I've done? Will you ever take your knee off our necks? Is it because I'm black?
Is it because I'm black?
Does that scare you? Am I intimidating? You know what? Enough is enough. The dark brown shades of my skin only add color to my tears. Syl Johnson. The mind can be the greatest manipulator if we don't harness the power within to redirect our energy towards progress. I want you to know that I don't just speak for myself. I speak for all of us. We have to keep on pushing. We will continue to make progress. We are trying so damn hard. We can't stop now. Don't lose focus. Don't lose sight of why we are in this fight. Peace. Stay mellow.
Welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks, coming to you live from Houston, Texas. And during the break, right before the break, we were talking about, I tipped my hat to the Negro Leagues in the 100-year anniversary. And they're supposed to have the anniversary this year, but COVID-19 stopped it and postponed it. But we have to take our time out, because if we don't do it, we can't let other people out talk about our heroes. We just can't. And Jimmy, and what I wanted to end on, I thought about this. These athletes could ride into town, ladies and gentlemen, fill up the ballpark, and then not be able to get a meal from the same fans that had just cheered for them, or not have a place to stay. So they would sleep in the bus and eat their peanut butter and crackers until they can get to a place that offered them basic services. What you have to admire is they never allowed social adversity to kill their love for the game. So if I had to go to sleep on the bus, if I had to eat peanut butters and crackers, I'm gonna do it. It's just an amazing testament to these men, the stuff that they had to go through. That's our history, y'all. It's a celebration of the power of the human spirit to preserve and prevail. So I just wanted to shout out to the Negro Museum, shout out to the Negro Leagues, and that's it. So Jimmy, what else we got? What else we got out there today?
I mean, we got, once again, this is Chop Shop. We're going to get you guys to take out the time to share the show. to your families, friends, timelines. Share the show. And if you're on the YouTube feed, give us a thumbs up, as a few people have done already. And we're getting our subscriber numbers up on the YouTube. So those of you on Facebook, take out the time later on to go over to the YouTube. That's Chop Shop HTX, and subscribe to our YouTube page. We want to remind you at the top of the hour, Ralph Cooper going to join us. We're going to take a blast to the players, and want you guys to help when he comes, to help shower him as the latest radio personality to be who will be presented into the Radio Hall of Fame.
It's good.
It's big stuff.
Hold on. Let me hold
So his flowers while he still can smell them. And shout out to Cecil Dutton is joining. We hadn't saw Cecil in a while. He's on the Facebook feed. And well, anyway, let's go and talk some of the hot topics out there in the sports sector. We're going to talk some grassroots. We'll say it at the next segment. But now NBA, the teams are getting ready to head off to Orlando. The season is set to start July the 30th, roughly 2.5 weeks or so away. And Milwaukee Bucks, Sacramento Kings, they've shut down their facilities. They're the latest to shut down their facilities. A couple of players from the Brooklyn Nets have announced that they will not be joining the team. Ironically, the Nets, Kyrie Irving, he was out for the season. But, DeAndre Jordan, I think, is one. DeAndre Jordan is not. He tested positive for COVID. So it's like 3 players that's part of that rotation. So now the Nets turn into that free space and bingo on the schedule. The Lakers, all eyes on them. One of their coaches, I think Lionel, is it Hollins? I think it's Hollins. He's not going to travel with the team.
65 years old.
And hell, he's a youngster compared to some of the other coaches in the NBA. Remember, the Houston Rockets coach.
But Jimmy, he might have certain conditions he's dealing with too. So they just didn't talk about it.
That's obviously because they say it's for health reasons.
Yeah.
And so for his coach Lionel Hollins, that is health reasons. So you can only imagine. I mean, you have the right to retain or release whatever you want about your medical condition. That's one of the things I was looking in, and that was a topic that I think Jay Williams brought up this morning, is that they were considering about putting a ring on these players. That way they'd be able to tell.
Yes, or
when
they.
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, that ring can also learn other stuff about you. But then you got to sign that over.
Yeah, but players don't want everybody knowing that. Yeah, that ring will tell you. Yeah, they don't want everybody knowing.
So that means now that's another whole can.
They don't have Jimmy. That's problem. Jimmy, you don't have to wear the ring. And see, that's the unique thing about this NBA. They ask to play. Nobody's demanded to play. Nobody's demanded to play. That's the unique thing about this thing. When nobody is demanded to play. A lot of the guys that I know want to play. Every guy I know and talk to, man, I'm ready to go. Some of the coaches, man, I'm ready to go. This is what I do. You know what's so unique though about it, Jimmy? I thought about it today, last night. There's no way. Let me tell you something. There's no way of knowing where this pandemic is going. There's no way. The NBA has simply concluded that they are not going to run from this. Their model was designed to protect them from and their players from the cases from the outside community. When they went to Orlando, they knew Florida was messed up, but they saying when you come in this clean environment, it's the best that we can do. And I thought about it, man. Jimmy, and I was thinking about Maya Moore. And I don't know if we're gonna talk about that. We'll wait till Women's Rock Wednesday. And so guys like Kyrie and guys like the guys who are Avery Bradley, Jimmy, I'm just gonna be interested in and following and figuring out how we can support their efforts, because they were so adamant about doing something about the social unrest and doing something about the police brutality. Those are the things I want to see. Because the idol, if that's what you truly believe, let's make it happen. That's what you stood out there and said. Let's make it happen. So, but what else you have about NBA?
I mean, yeah, and also, once again, the Houston Rockets, mentioned Dan Antoni, as of last week, he had yet to receive official permission or clearance, that is, to coach the Rockets. So he was just going to go and just say, you know what? A no means, no answer is just like no news is good news. And regarding him, he just going to, but this stuff, the pandemic, guys, by now I'm quite sure, I'm just curious, is anybody out there that doesn't know anyone who have contracted this package? I'm just curious, because I did this roll call about a month ago, and it was fairly a lot. But I'm just curious now of what that percentage would be, meaning that, once again, if you don't have any friends, any allies, or any relatives who've contracted, or neighbors who contracted the coronavirus, then just let me know. I'm just curious. Let me know if you have it. And I don't care who it is. I don't care what relationship it is to you. I'm just curious to know who's that person, or how many of y'all that it hadn't hit home with.
Yeah, well, it hit home with me. And I see that, who was that? Angie Holcomb, she's so blessed. She said she don't know anyone. What's up, Andre Branch? And she don't know anyone. But Jimmy, I was thinking about it. I said, I looked at the NBA. The players are allowed to put certain things on the back of their jerseys, and what happens if a player want to put what happens if a player want to put "Free Hong Kong" on the back of a jersey?
That's not an option. They've already given.
I already know, but I know it's not. I'm just saying. But he talking about he was gonna get them freedom to express what they want to, express what they. But hey, it's really not free if you can't put that on there. Because hold on, just kidding. But that was a nine-figure blunder. Daryl Morey tweeting out that thing about Hong Kong. So I think they'll stay away from that. But I'm just thinking about it. I mean, I'm conflicted. I talked to Sam the other day. Somebody in their traveling party with the Clippers. Somebody in the party, they contracted it. But Jimmy, so does it make you say that no major player has been contracted? No, none of the top, the elite. I ain't talking about I'm talking about the major players. None of them have contracted. No Kawhi Leonard. No.
How do we know?
No. I said, is it amazing that none of them? I was being sarcastic. You didn't read. You didn't read it. You didn't read what I was saying. It's amazing. How do we know?
Yes, because I've heard a month ago that one of these Houston Rockets starters had that package.
But guess what? He done went through. That's a month ago. He done went through the protocol by now.
I'm just saying, but still, we don't, so it's a lot of those guys are, they have the option to release and acknowledge, and or not. And so that's the thing is when it hits for homes, you go to the grassroots basketball. I understand this. Head coach, a recent head coach of Goose Creek Memorial High School, Marcus Ebo. He's also one of the volunteer coaches with the John Lucas Enterprises grassroots basketball program. Marcus Ebo was just released from the hospital after a week-long stay yesterday. He just came home, day before yesterday. So now, when we come back, I will share you guys some of the thoughts and comments from Marcus Ebo after speaking with him last night. And I ain't gonna spill it, but I'll just wait for this message. I got some good stuff for you guys.
All right, hold on. Here you go.
You know, that's an old argument. It goes all the way back to the early 19th century, if not before, that to use race language to describe racism is somehow to reinforce racism. So let me just use this example. If it's the case that police are singling out Black communities for a particular kind of policing, that the data shows that if you're this color and you're from this particular area, that you are subject to a certain kind of policing, whether it's violence, certain kind of relationship to the criminal justice system, certain kind of conviction rates, levels of sentencing, and the like. And you see that the factors that are at work in this disproportionate or this unfair policing is race. How do you name it if you can't talk about race? Right. So what the caller just wanted me to do is to say, don't use race language, even though race is doing all sorts of work in distributing advantage and disadvantage. Don't use race language, even though race and racism is engaging or producing all sorts of harms. It's actually killing Black folk. You see, this is the problem. We want to think that loud racists are the problem, the folk who are running around with Confederate flags and folks who are running around screaming the N-word and clamoring for white power. We think they're the problem. The problem is the silence and complicity of those who want to hide in their comfort. That's the problem, right? So if we get to a place where we can call them out, Jim Baldwin was clear, right? That he doesn't want to work with people who want to do something for him. He wants to work with folk who want to fundamentally transform the society. Right? That caller is content with being comfortable, content with the illusion of safety. We have to be able to name the problem. You can't hide. What does he want me to do? To be silent in the face of another generation of children dying at the hands of the police? I find that unconscionable.
Welcome back to the Chop Shop, your midday sports happy hour, the best 120 minutes of your day. Moving right along, we will, don't forget, at the top of the hour, we expect to be joined by Ralph Cooper and for the convo with him. If you missed it, he was selected to the Radio Hall of Fame, which is one of the most prestigious individual accolades you can attain in the communication field sector. So shout out to Ralph. We can hardly wait for that convo. Meanwhile, going into the break, I think I told you guys about one of the local high school coaches who emerged he was home now from the hospital, recovering. Got a chance to speak with Marcus Ebo last night. And got to understand, this virus affects different people in different ways. So it's not like if you don't know the magnitude for which it may affect you, you will only know once you contract it. So there's no science to determine, to say, okay, well, all my vitals are good, I'm healthy, clean bill of health, I'm good. Well, if you get the contraction from the wrong person or the wrong means, then it could take you out. That's the roulette part of it. Now, the odds are, if you are healthy, the odds are in your favor, but then those are odds. That doesn't mean it's 100 proof. So with Ebo, when he hit home with this young man, I've been knowing Marcus Ebo since he was in high school with the class of 2002 at North Shore High School as an all-city, first team all-city basketball player. And his mama make a mean bowl of gumbo too, Adam. Good Lord. She could make that gumbo back in the day. Now, Ebo explained to me that he really thought, had begun to wonder if he would be able to see his kids, his family and kids again. That thought during this 5 to 7 day stay in the hospital actually went through his mind. He said he couldn't breathe. And, you know, you're looking at a young fella. And so when you hear and you ask questions, and what we're going to do, Marcus Ebo has agreed to come and share his plight with you guys in a couple days, but he just said his breath, his strength is not up right now. He wouldn't be able to talk that long without having to gasp, even right now, even being home for 2 days. So this thing now, he's devoting his life towards awareness, you know, and it takes, to help spread the awareness of this thing. So now also, Marcus Ebo, also, once again, understand, there are several grassroots teams out there who have players who have tested positive. I say it again, several. There's one team in Houston that finally made everybody go and get tested recently. The results came in over the weekend. The coach called and explained to me, say, we have 8 players positive. This is a local grassroots basketball director who called me and said, I made everybody go get tested because we want to make sure we was all right moving forward, how we stand. 8 players tested positive. So here's how that goes. Those 8 now, that means the parents got to go get tested now. The sisters and the brothers got to go get tested now. So see how that number, that 8, it goes squared in a heartbeat. That 8 turns to 64. That's just right there from with that team. So now, not to mention the coaches now got to go get tested. Well, they already got tested, I'm sorry. But, you know, some of them are going to get retested because of the amount of fake positives out there or fake negatives. Some people, you know, it's just so crazy. But here's what I'm hitting home with this. Marcus Ebo, there are players, he volunteered with his grassroots program. Now, there are players within that organization, allegedly, that have tested positive or showed supreme signs of being a positive. So then you wonder why that team ain't playing? They scared this Ducks. No. The hell with that. It's safe season. Ain't duck season. A lot of people, what you can't do is go and make people feel like they got to play baseball, soccer, basketball. Like you are somewhat of a wimp, you're somewhat scared, you're somewhat, oh man, come on, man. Everybody else is doing it. If a family or parents don't want their sons or daughters to play, then damn it, then respect their decision. If a coach is smart enough to not put his team out there and to say, well, you know what, the risk is not worth the reward for my team. Nah, we'll sit it out. Then guess what? Respect it. That's all we can do right now. Well, that ain't all you can do. That's probably best suited for everybody to do. But I don't feel that that's in the community. I feel like it's like kids are feeling like they got to go and play. And somebody hit me with, all money ain't good money. You guys all heard that before. From Big Mama, Aunt Thelma, Cutting, Papa, Paw. Somebody told you that at one time, all money ain't good money, guys. It ain't. Now, the person that ain't never had money will probably not subscribe to the belief early on in the all money ain't good money. But if you ever had a little bit and it wasn't good, how you got it, then you guys can see where I'm going with it. So just want to let you guys know, with that have been said, is that with today, Marjorie with the GMI is meeting with city officials, and she's not really thrilled about the idea of going through with the GMI. Whatever Marjorie wants to do, I'm supporting it. Mind you, I'm not going against what the scope of this tournament started because George McClellan passed away in June, in June of 2004, and this event served as a community, a galvanizing moment for the community, and we've kept it alive for the last 16 years. So think about this. See, sometimes when you get, that's why I always strive for people to have conversations to try to get understanding. Once understanding comes, then you'd be like, then people are like, oh man, I see now, I stand down. Here's what I've been moving so hard towards, getting everything together for the GMI, getting the teams and the schedules. And I had to redo the schedule by times just yesterday, because we had teams that made the decision to pull out. And I applaud each one of them. Man, thank you so much for pulling out. I'm just glad you don't make me do the schedule, then pull out. So here's what was told to me. Think of this. If your wife is a cancer survivor and has an active case of lupus, would you put her, and she works your events all the time, and it's known that if a person has a pre-existing medical condition, that odds increase for them, would you put her in the harm's way, or would you proceed and do the event? That's the question. Once again, lupus. And so at that point, that's once again, it's like, oh, what would you guys do? Fellas out there, if your wife had lupus, she worked all your events, what would you do? Would you still push forward and let her work the event? Or would you, what would you do? See, at some point, everything has a price. A price to do or a price not to do. To some guys, they may say, yeah, go. To me, I told you guys, and I've said it before, I'm good with not having basketball on event. I'm addicted to the part of constructing tournaments. I think I'm probably addicted to doing schedules because I put so much time into. But you have to get away from the addiction and think about it. What would you do? So as I await Marjorie's decision, like I say, if she decides not to do the GMI, already teams have pulled out and they have received a full refund. So that ain't the issue. You know, so we want to give you guys that Marcus Ebo. That's why I brought it up him first. Even though he's a volunteer coach with JL3, he also is one of our site supervisors. He works on events for the past 3-4 years. We even give him his schedule whereas he can leave the gym. Either I schedule his teams to play where he's working at, or he would leave and somebody would break him, give him like a lunch break to go coach his teams, then come back to his post. COVID. Also, another young man who's on our staff just informed us on yesterday morning. He was like, I hate to inform you guys. I'm not going to even say his name because I hadn't talked with him yet. So out of his privacy, right? Out of his privacy.
We don't want to know his name.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But Ebo is different. Ebo had agreed to come and talk to you guys. He's going to come and talk to you guys soon about it, you know, what he endured. Here it is. I'll just read the comment. Now I won't say his name. Hey y'all, I'm not sure if the GMI is still a goal or if you had plans to still use me as a worker. But unfortunately, I won't be able to attend or work at this point. I tested positive for COVID, so I'll be in quarantine the next 14 days. It would be very irresponsible and hazardous of me not to say anything or pose harm to anyone near me. This was yesterday at 12:28 p.m.
Well, you know what? I thank God for them parents and moms and teams that are pulling out of this event or these events because this thing is serious, man. People having events this weekend. Those events should have been the same way. But, you know, I can't tell nobody what to do. Can't tell no, you know, we had Jermaine O'Neal on the air. Almost time for a break too, Jimmy, the other day. And, you know, it's, you know, whatever. I just know I'm not coming to your gym. I don't care what it is. It's, somebody told me that I wanted to meet a kid, and he told me he was at the gym yesterday. Wait a minute, Saturday. I promise you, I rode by there, never going in. It's going to tell him to come out. But then I saw so many cars out there, I didn't even want him to come out and talk to me. So I just turned around and left. And this thing, I mean, I've been taking this serious from day one. And I just wished a lot of people in this country had took this thing serious. And especially in this great state that I live in, you know, have people calling me, because, you know, I got people all over the country calling me just, you know, wondering, man, are you all right in Houston? You all right? Because you already know the news is going to sensationalize it. But, man, get well, Marcus, man. Jimmy, then I found out about this stuff. They think it just, they got different strands of it, Jimmy, and they said some.
Yeah, they got that gorilla out there now.
Yeah, and then they got some, you know, they said it contains.
They called it mutant.
Yeah,
the mutant. Like the Ninja Turtle. They're the mutant. They got the mutant.
It did not just take over and mess up your respiratory system, but it's getting into your blood system, and that can cause. You already know how things that can cause. But we're gonna take a quick break, man, and come back. Oh boy, y'all got me today. But let me find my break. I'm sorry. What I'm doing? I hit the wrong button, Jimmy. I'm sorry. Let me find my break button and okay, here we go.
I mean, you know, America's not unique in its sins as a country. We're not unique in our evils, to be honest with you. I think where we may be singular is our refusal to acknowledge them. And the legends and myths we tell about our inherent, you know, goodness to hide and cover and conceal so that we can maintain a kind of willful ignorance that protects our innocence. See, the thing is that when the Tea Party was happening, We were saying, pundits, oh, it's just about economic populism. It's not about race. When people knew, social scientists were already writing that what was driving the Tea Party were anxieties about demographic shifts, that the country was changing, that they were seeing these racially ambiguous babies on Cheerios commercials, that the country wasn't quite feeling like it was a white nation anymore. And people were screaming from the top of their lungs, yo, this is not just simply economic populism. This is the ugly underbelly of the country. See, the thing is this, and I'll say this and I'll take the hit on it. There are communities that have had to bear the brunt of America confronting, white Americans confronting the danger of their innocence. And it happens every generation. So somehow we have to kind of, oh my God, is this who we are? And just again, here's another generation of babies. Think about it, that 2-year-old had his bones broken by 2 parents trying to shield him from being killed. A woman who has been married to this man for as long as I've been on the planet almost, lost her husband. For what? And so what we know is that the country has been playing politics for a long time on this hatred. We know this. So it's easy for us to place it all on Donald Trump's shoulders. It's easy for us to place Pittsburgh on his shoulders. It's easy for me to place Charlottesville on his shoulders. It's easy for us to place El Paso on his shoulders. This is us. And if we're going to get past this, we can't blame it on him. He's a manifestation of the ugliness that's in us. I've had the privilege of growing up in a tradition that didn't believe in the myths and the legends because we had to bear the brunt of them. Either we're going to change, Nicole, or we're going to do this again and again, and babies are going to have to grow up without mothers and fathers, uncles and aunts, friends, while we're trying to convince white folk to finally leave behind a history that will maybe, or embrace a history that might set them free from being white. Finally.
Open it up.
Okay.
Welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show, and also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks. He's over there queuing up our guests for the day. The legend, Ralph Cooper, is gonna come on. I think, Jimmy, you just give me the nod when you're coming on and ready. But I thought, if y'all noticed that whole segment, how I was just sitting there, I was floored. I sit there and listen 14 minutes straight. Because I've been taking this thing so serious for so long. People was just looking at me crazy, telling me, man, you know, I just, and I said something key. When this first happened, I brought on one of the most renowned doctors. I played a video, and he just said, pretend, this months ago, if you go back and get my old video, months ago, he said, pretend you have the virus and you don't want nobody else to get it. That's how you should govern your life. Imagine that you have it and you don't want to give it to nobody else. That's how you should govern your life. That was months ago. And now that held true. A lot of this stuff is spiking because of the stuff that we were doing good. Hospital rooms were down. Everything, I mean, we was doing good. And boy, that person y'all voted for up there in Austin, he said, okay, let's get back to work with no plan. With no plan. So I just wanted to share that with y'all, because on this Chop Shop, I that was one of the best internal medicine doctors in the world. I forgot his name, but I'll bring it back again. But he just said, pretend that you have it and you don't ever want to give it nobody. That's what the mask for. The mask for, you won't be spitting on nobody. So that's it. Jimmy, I saw some people in
Yeah.
swimming pool. Jimmy, I saw some people in a public swimming pool at a hotel. Liquid. Where you spit in the water. I'm gonna leave that alone. Let's bring the legend on, man. Do your thing.
Absolutely. And of course, without further ado, as promised, we have joining us, a guy that needs no introduction, but we give him one anyway, and that is the legend, not only of Houston, but the entire state of Texas, a pioneer in radio, in the communication and journalism business. I mean, he has opened the doors for so many, including and inspired so many, including myself. As I remember days when I used to go over there and stand alongside Chris Gardner while learning to produce the sports rap radio show during weekdays from 5 to 7. And it was, answering the calls, lines lit up like a Christmas tree, putting them on hold, giving Ralph the signal through the other side of the glass, giving the number, whether it's line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5, run out of fingers. And ironically, this is a person who knew me long before I knew him because of our families. And I was a little boy when he knew me. And I remember listening to the AM radio dial on the way home from mom picking me up from school, and his signature salutation would be, "I'm Ralph Cooper." And that's who we have with us today. He's been selected to the Radio Hall of Fame, guys. And which I know he would never say it, but I'm like, what the hell took him so long for this?
Well, they probably knew that would be the best thing for a guy like me to wait, to wait till he was old enough to digest all of that type of stuff. And then again, and I thank you for what you just said. Our family ties are something that I really cherish, and knowing you from where you've come from and how you represent where you come from is huge to me, and I can't say enough about that. And but again, this is a good time to digest all of that, and then you look at something else. It's like it was kind of God sent for you to still be around and be able to do what Howard's talking about. We can't tell people enough about how serious the virus is. Many people want to take the virus as something that is not serious, and they don't want to wear a mask. I listened to Howard a moment ago. I listened to you and the doctor, and I have a doctor on my program. I trust the doctor more so than the politicians and the wannabe politicians. And we have a lot of that going on. But it's good to be around at a time like this when people need voices that they can trust, and people need inspiration, and most important of all, like Hada again, and like you, they need to hear the truth from qualified people. And that's up to them if they're going to listen. But they need to hear the truth from qualified people. And when you talk to people, like in the sports world, you've got Bill Yeoman, the head football coach at the University of Houston, COVID-19 right now. Fritz Greer, one of the greatest sandlot pickup golfers and a great basketball player, a historian of the game, and a former college player. He's down with the virus right now. So and you've got so many others. You've got teams with players down with the virus. And we can't do enough in regards to getting that message across.
Wow.
And
Jimmy, I would like to tell you me being from Memphis, and when I got to town, I did, just turned on the radio one day on AM dial, and I used to hear Ralph Cooper. I never thought I would be sitting here talking. That was far from my mind on a radio platform or some kind of platform like this. But I've watched you over the years, and one of my greatest fondest memories of you when my son was in middle school. He played for West Briar, and they played at your champions, whatever you call Stars of the Future basketball tournament at Chavez. We was at Chavez High School, and I'll never forget. Great, my son started liking basketball that moment. He did well, and they had a great time. Played against the Imani School. The Imani School had all them good players, and I'll never forget it. And I thank you, man. I thank you for that experience, because that's one of the greatest experiences that I've had. And then I got to meet you that day. So long time ago. But, hey, I thank you for what you do.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. We started the tournament back in 1983.
Okay.
I had 3 other people who helped me: Artist Seaboy Vaughn of the Forward Times, and the late Bob Wright, who was a photographer, businessman, and they are in the heavens now watching. And the only person around who was really there when we first started is Paul Wright, other than myself. So I really thank you for that. And one of the reasons I did that was to do what you're talking about, to inspire the kids at that time, to let them know that people were watching them to prepare for high school, not just to prepare for college, but to prepare for high school, which is that next level for them. And that was huge. And we got some great players to play in.
Yes.
But guess what? The most well-known person on the planet, Pace, he's in heaven. Played in the Stars of the Future tournament when he was at Ryan Middle School. George Floyd. He played with Ryan.
Wow.
He played on championship teams in the 7th and 8th grade while he was at Ryan, and they're the most recognized face on the planet right now, George Floyd.
Well, like I said, I just thank him again, Jimmy, because that tournament gave my son so much confidence. You thought he left there, thought he was that dude, and so. I thank you again, Ralph.
Huh? His daddy thought he was a dude also.
Now, what year you say was the first year the Stars of Future, Ralph?
1983.
Yeah, and, that's about right.
And we're going to bring it back. I started to end it. We didn't have one this past year, and we're bringing it back now because of this. Because when we get out of this, the youngsters need as much inspiration as they can get. They need you to keep doing what you're doing. The 2 of you all to keep doing what you're doing in regards to your icebreakers and all that type of stuff. McCullen and what he's doing. They need all of this, because if you're around these children these days, their confidence is at an all-time. We've never seen anything like this, and you wonder how you would react at that age. But you also remember when you were at that age, you had the courage to knock the world down. You couldn't wait to get out of the house and be gone to reach some of the challenges that you had written down that you wanted to try to achieve. But now with this going on, these youngsters, they can't leave the house safely, and they don't know if they're going off to school. Yeah. They're going to do stuff online, and then you drop down to the ones who, like Hatters' son was, who are still searching for what they're going to do. So we really need to keep these events up. And those out there who can make a difference in regards to your pocketbooks, in regards to sponsoring events, you need to help. I'm not just talking about with me. I'm talking about with Jimmy and whoever is doing the tournaments and stuff. You need to get up. You can't take wherever you go. You go to hell, you can't take the money with you. And you're going to heaven, they don't want the money up there from what I'm told. So hey, drop some money on some people, help these tournaments, and help do something worthwhile in regards to helping the young people.
Wow. And now, speaking of the Stars of Future, you say you're bringing it back. You're planning to bring it back. When in 20 or 21? Or you gonna let it go by?
Depending on what happens with the virus. So we're looking at 21 probably, because you don't want to take a chance with people's children.
That's right.
And you don't want them to take a chance with their children also. It's a difference in regards to being a pro or maybe a college student, and they're able to make their own decisions if they want to. But if you're dealing with junior highs, middle schools, etc., I think you need to be very, very safe. So we're probably looking at February, January or February, depending on what happens. Yes.
Okay. And so what we got, guys, we're up against the break. We come right back. We got Ralph Cooper joining us. And also he's going to take some of your questions as well. We're talking with the legend, guys. Yes, indeed. This is Ralph Cooper, and we'll be right back on the Chop Shop.
We have to get rid of those things that block our ability to see one another, honestly, right? And oh my God, America's willful ignorance, our addiction to our innocence, blocks the way to us maturing into what our democracy requires of us.
And we had a unique situation here in that Mick Mulvaney ended up hearing a panel discussion that he actually might not have heard had our satellite worked on time that time. But he clearly, Eddie Glaude, was reacting to you in particular in that interview. What did you hear from him?
First of all, I can give less than a damn what Mick Mulvaney thinks about what I say, to be honest with you. He can't even acknowledge that it was a domestic terrorist act. How many times did you use the phrase and he wouldn't acknowledge it? What did he say? He said it was a person who was crazy, a nut with guns, right? And that's always the case, right? If it was a Muslim, it would have been a terrorist act. Donald Trump would have already been on television, not a tweet. He would have already done a press conference, right? But when it's white men engaging in this sort of action, we get this sort of account, right? That we want to go to their mental health. Let's just stipulate that they're crazy. Let's stipulate that they're crazy.
Everybody who kills people are crazy.
Something's wrong. Let's stipulate to that. Yeah. But there's an ideology at work here. When you use the same language that we've heard, the same language that we heard in the clip. And let me say this, for a lot of folk in this country who are black and brown, for a lot of folk in this country who are not white men, it feels as if some white men have lost their damn minds, Chuck, and we have to bear the burden of it. Incompetence, corruption, all indications of his character. He's a bad dude. He doesn't have a good sense of right and wrong. This moment, we saw it in Lafayette Park when he put the military in that position. And now we see that he's silent as someone puts a bounty on the head of our men and women in uniform. I think this breaks the back of his presidency with a particular constituency. We'll see what happens come November. But this is a breaking point in my view.
Welcome back to the
Chop Shop.
Come on, Jim.
The best 120 minutes of your day. We're grooving right along, talking at the same time. I don't know, that kind of spooked me right there. When right. Robert Haller gets to saying the same things that I'm saying at the same time.
That's bad.
This ain't Amos and Andy, but indeed, that's for damn sure. But anyway, this is the Chop Shop, and I'm yours truly, Jim Hicks, alongside Robert Haller, and we have our special guest today. We have Ralph Cooper. Yes, matter of fact, we can go on and put 3 alphabets. Remember, I tell you guys, you of a certain stature when you have alphabets in front of your name or behind your name. Remember. So now, Ralph, we're gonna put a T, a H, and an E in front of his. You know, he's not. Don't worry about it. He's D. Ralph Cooper.
Okay, I like that. and Ralph, I know you was talking about the stars of the future, Ralph. Do me a favor and make sure you get in contact with me and let me know how I can help. Because like I say, I had such a great experience. I want other parents and other kids to feel what me and my son felt. So you let me know if any way I can help. Okay?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I appreciate people like you and Jimmy and Rick Nelson and Coach Henry Sims. And all the people who and of course, Coach Kevin Pullum over at who's at Chavez for the longest, and then the other legendary coaches. See, you all put that on me, but see, this is the blessing that I've had. I appreciate the insight, but think about this: I look at my hand sometimes and I wonder. This is the hand that shook the hand of Jesse Owens, Satchel Paige, Izzy Dean, Roy Campanella, Wilt Chamberlain, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Larry Holmes, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Robinson. I can go on and on. This is Carl Lewis. This is Jesse Owens. This is that hand, Wilma Rudolph especially. This is that hand, all of those different hands. And those were real legends to me. And for you all to pin that on me, I appreciate it. But I really respect the opportunity that I've had to be touched by people like that. And you notice I didn't even go into the people here. Moses Malone, Elvin Hayes, Elijah Warren, Clyde Drexler when he was in high school. Eric Dickerson. When you look at your blessing, the interview, I remember the interview with Eric Dickerson like it was yesterday when he was in high school. Earl Campbell, Clyde Drexler, all when they were in high school. Even Lester Hayes. And the thing about Lester Hayes, I didn't know that he couldn't talk because in middle school he was talking, and then all these people when they were either in junior high school or high school, you had a chance to interview them first before they even hit the big arena and became superstars, either Hall of Famers, Michael Strahan, etc. Before they became superstars. Rodney Hampton, all of these great legends from around this, Russell Charles. We don't even go into cash now. All these great legends. So thank you very much for the accolades. But I want to give the people credit for being the legends that they were, and it sort of just kind of rubbed off on me. I appreciate it.
I mean, hey, it's the hand that shook the hand of the legends. And if you guys just missed that, Ralph Cooper.
Bad man right there, boy.
And I forgot my main man, Willie Mays. Willie Mays was still playing when he was still a superstar. When he was a 5'2" baseball player who could have been a great quarterback. And so they just want to throw it's a blessing. So, and you wonder sometimes why were you put here and why the different things happen. And then you look at what's happening right now. So, hey, I believe in, one of the things I believe in, that is, I'm not calling the shots, but I believe I was put here to be around for right now to help in regards to this, just like you guys are. Think about this. What would Houston be if we didn't have these black voices right now?
Great point. Wow.
And the other politicians. But suppose we didn't have these outlets like you all on every day, Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
I'm on every day, Monday through Friday. But let's just take those hours away. Those 20 hours a week away out of the Houston mix. People around the world wouldn't know what's happening here in Houston, and the people here in Houston would be like zombies in regards to not getting the information or being able to share their thoughts. So it's a blessing to be around, and especially to be competent enough to be able to share with people.
I never looked at it like that, Ralph. Wow.
Praise the truth of what you're doing. You all have me on your show, but I look at this as a blessing to be able to come on here with two guys who are trying to get the message across. Wear the mask and stay safe.
Wow.
And it's not even, think about this. I've been a carefree person since I was 14 or 15 years old. Never locked up. Always gone all day. From 7 to 8 in the morning to 8 or 9 in the evening. Even when I was in school. 7 to 8 7 in the morning, 8 in the evening, come home, do the homework, look after your sisters for a few minutes, and be gone. And now all of a sudden, you're handcuffed. Told to wear a mask and be safe. So if I can do it to a great degree, everybody should be able to do it, especially when it comes down to your own health.
I mean, hey Ralph, a while ago you mentioned some of the players from the Negro League. Tell us, give us some of your more untold stories about covering or about the Negro League days that you can recall coming up.
Well, from what I was sure about the Negro League, I didn't know the Negro Leagues. You had a gentleman here in Houston at one time down on Prairie, down there where the Houston Chronicle building is on Prairie and around the 800 block of Prairie. You had a gentleman who had a barbershop there, and he was the head of the NAACP here in Houston. And Bubba Thomas, the musician, took me down there to meet him because when I found out his name was George T. Nelson, not the George Nelson that was on the radio for years, but George T. Nelson was a shorter guy. And George T. Nelson, back in the 40s and 50s, was really the first guy to bring the Globetrotters to Houston. He was black. He was the first guy to bring the Globetrotters to Houston. And he also had the Negro Leagues to come in Houston. He had Jesse Owens in town running against horses. Back in the day when Jesse Owens, after the Olympics, needed money, one of the things he did, he ran against horses in special exhibitions. The horse, Jesse Owens would have about a 10 or 20 yard lead on the horse, and just to add or appreciate this being from Memphis. he take the gun and shoot the gun right near the horse's ear, right before the horse would take off with somebody on it. Before the horse would take off, he would shoot the gun, and Jesse Owens, of course, would take off. He already had a 10 to 20 yard lead, and the horse would rear up with the person on it. And by the time he came down, Jesse Owens was like 40 yards down the field. And of course, he won the race. So you had all that type of stuff. But even after this black guy, to show you with you how things work, he was the first person to bring the Globetrotters to Houston. And they had what they had then was the City Auditorium, not the Coliseum, the City Auditorium. They packed the building. Many of the people here didn't know who the Globetrotters really were, but the black people did, thanks to the black newspapers. And they packed the gym or the building. And the next year when he went to bring them back, guess what that happened? They had another promoter that got involved, and he only got a piece of it. So, and then when I think about the Negro Leagues, I think about Satchel Paige and how I interviewed him. He was an older man, of course. He was retired, and I asked him a few questions. This was in the Astrodome, and he pulled me to the side. He said, young man, I should have known you earlier. I would have hired you to help me write my book. Because
wow.
You've asked me better questions than the people I hired who helped me write my book. So that was one. Then you had Buck O'Neill. Buck O'Neill came to KCOH. Now this was before he died. He had to be 90 years old. He shared all these different stories about him and Satchel Paige, Josh Gibson, the Negro Leagues, and how they traveled. And he also talked about the nightlife, how they loved to dance and party. Those are the gentlemen at the station heard him and came and invited him to his club. And sure enough, I took him over there. And that's about 10 o'clock. I said, hey, you want to drop you back at the hotel? He said, man, I'm just getting warmed up. This man was 90 years old with a Kansas City Monarch jersey on. And I left him on the dance floor. They tell me he left at about midnight going home. But he was 90-something years old. And he said what happened in that club reminded him of the days when he was younger, when he was around a bunch of black people and all the fun he had. He said the only thing missing was Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, Buck O'Neill, Cool Papa Bell, etc. So that's all stuff. I could go on and on. But I remember the museum opening. The baseball museum opened. Now it was just a small little place. Now it's humongous. Am I right, Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's big.
How it's grown. It started with like a little small room. I went there when it first opened. Yeah. They were selling merchandise. They had a few items. And look at what has happened now with that particular thing. They've got funded from Major League Baseball and others. And it's taken off, and it's good that they have a place to show that type of history. And a series by Ken Burns, where he has a segment in there about Negro League Baseball, is one that everyone should read. And also the founder of the Negro League, you know what? He's from Texas, right?
No.
He's from Calvert, Texas, Rube Foster, right out of Texas. He was a genius.
I got something for you. I want to tell everybody too. It's a 501 tax exempt entity, so you can give. You can. They need fund, not necessarily need funding, but fund the Negro Museum. And I've already got friends too, and I wanted to share that with y'all a week ago, but it's a great place. If you go down there, you're gonna see where your money is. Great place to go. I just wanted to add that before we went any further, Ralph.
Right, and that's great. And see, the thing about baseball used to be our sport. When I grew up, it wasn't football or basketball. It was baseball. Everybody, believe it or not, in Sunday class, we had Little League teams everywhere. All the businesses had Little League teams that they sponsored. They were all up and down what is now Cullen, but at that time it was Chocolate Bayou Street. You had Little League teams everywhere. They had Little League baseball. Many of us, the first baseball team we ever played on was not Little League teams. They were our elementary school teams. You had B.H. Grimes came out of Sunnyside and played Douglas and teams up from the north side. They came to the South Central YMCA, that area there, and played the games. But you had competition, and they kept up with the standings. The standings were put in the black newspapers back then, like how your school was doing, and et cetera, who were some of the stars, et cetera. but baseball has always been our sport. And to show you how big it was, you've had people who worked with presidents who played baseball first. And baseball didn't just start with Jackie Robinson. You had baseball at the end of the 1800s and early 1900s before the key player in the game at that time was a white named Cap Anson. He didn't want to, he reached the conclusion that he didn't want to play with blacks anymore. He was so powerful that he persuaded all of the other white players and the owners to not to let the black guys play. Then baseball got a commissioner, Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who for years kept blacks out of baseball until, he lost the job, and finally after the war they integrated baseball with modern day baseball with Jackie Robinson. But you had blacks playing baseball in 1800 right quick. You had one from the South who lost his mother and father, and he was in the Tuskegee area, and he was tutored and mentored by Booker T. Washington. He learned how to play baseball, but he was a greater student. Booker T. Washington got him a scholarship or whatever, and he worked his way up to Harvard. And so you had all kinds of stories there about black playing baseball. One was so good at it, and Jimmy, he got in one game in the minor leagues. He was one step away from the major leagues, or he made it to the major leagues, and somebody realized what? He wasn't white. He was black. He was fast. His daddy was white. His mother was black. They had 3 kids together, his mother and the white guy, the white slave master. He was born into slavery. He was freed. And his father, when he died, left in his will that he wanted all of his children to go to school up north. And he left the money for them to go to Harvard, wherever they wanted to go, in the Ivy League at that time, to show you how it didn't just start with us.
Wow. But Ralph, do you remember they had a pitcher named Slim Jones? They said he was a left-handed version of Satchel Paige. And he sold his coat. He sold his coat, Jimmy, for some alcohol. He was in Philadelphia and froze to death in Philadelphia. He got caught up in alcoholism, and he sold his coat to get a drink, and he froze to death. And they say he was the left-handed version of Satchel Paige. And then they had this one guy named Grady Orange, Ralph, who played in the Negro Leagues to pay for his college tuition. And then he went to Meharry College and wound up becoming a medical doctor. So it's some great stories,
yeah.
Huh?
But some great stories. And then, this is one that I interviewed. Her name was Effa, E-F-F-A Manley. Okay, Effa Manley, as a young woman, and probably was mixed, of course, married a young black guy. He was in his 40s at the time. He was a numbers man. He owned the baseball team, the team in New Jersey, the Newark Eagles, I think that was the name, whatever the name of the team. It was in the Negro Leagues in the New Jersey, Newark area. And she ended up marrying him, and she was about 20 years younger than he was. Okay, what happened? This is one of the Buck O'Neill and all them swear this story is true. One of the young bucks like Jimmy was on the team, right? And he started seeing the wife, right? Who was the co-owner of the team. The husband found out about it, right? He didn't confront him or anything. Guess what he did? He traded him to another Negro League team that was not doing with him. Down in the Nashville or the Memphis area, that was not the Kansas City Marlins. But he traded him to a weak team. And guess what he traded? To send the message, guess what he traded him for?
What?
A baseball glove. Baseball.
So the moral of this story is leave other people's wives alone.
So that's why people sometimes always make fun and say when they say a person got traded for a little bit of nothing, then they'll use that story and probably say he got traded for a baseball glove. So that was a true. I didn't know that was actually a true story.
But it happened in the Negro Leagues. Think about it. It happened in the Negro Leagues. They swore like O'Neill and all of them. They said you had to see the man's wife. She was in her late 20s. She was 40 or 50 years old. Oh. And one of the young bucks on the team got lucky. Yeah. And the man found out about it. Yeah. And he shipped him off.
No, he really didn't get lucky.
The man is from Newark, New Jersey, down to 1940s. or 1930s, whatever, 1930s, late 1930s, Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey, Ralph, what happened? What happened? And this is one of the questions from in the Boom Boom Room. What has happened with black youths, the youth black in baseball? What has happened?
Well, so you had the older guys who knew baseball died off, and the younger guys who knew it didn't pick up the baton. They picked up the baton in regard to football and basketball. And basically, when we were coming up, when I was coming up, and I mentioned those teams up and down what's now Cullen or then Chocolate Bayou Street, and you had that going all over town. See, everybody thinks that the white kids were just playing baseball, but it was in the Acres Homes, it was in the Cashmere area, it was over in the Fidelity Maynard area, it was in the 5th Ward and 3rd Ward, over in the 4th Ward, of course. Everybody had older men who came off their jobs. They didn't go to happy hour. The happy hour was in their car with a bottle before they came out to practice you and teach you how to play baseball. And you could smell alcohol, in many cases, on their breath every day. But they came out in their work clothes. They were in an oil field, or a service station, or whatever. They had oil on them. They were greasy, and they came out and taught you how to play baseball. And it was important to them, and even the people who, like I told you, I played for an elementary school team first. The man who taught us was Raymond Anderson, who was a Yates High School product, and guess who he learned baseball from? And this guy was, everybody knew him as a great football coach, but Pat Patterson at Yates was a Negro League baseball all-star who decided when he came to Houston, the Negro League teams used to come to Houston like the Major League teams did to prepare for the season. He came to Houston and decided that this is the place he wanted to settle down and raise a family. And he was right. Look at the pictures. He's in pictures with Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige back in the 30s, whatever. But he retired. He came to Houston, became a great, legendary football coach at Yates. And he taught these guys, who taught us how to play baseball and the importance of it. And that's what happened. People went into basketball. See, one time you had only one basketball game on TV a week, one football game. You had 2 baseball games, Saturday and Sunday. Maybe a basketball game on Sunday or Saturday. And a football game, of course. College on Saturday, pros on Sunday. That's what happened. The All-Star, the games were played in the day, the World Series was in the day, and baseball just lost its popularity, in my opinion, because of us, black people.
Yeah, and now also we got just tuned into the Chop Shop. This is Ralph Cooper. I mean, living legend, and I mean, from Worthing High School, and I see a lot of the viewers, longtime viewers. I see Lil Rick over there in Solo, Kelton Solomon's over there on the Chop in the Boom Boom Room. Ralph, speaking of fans, you know, of course, you know, you don't get to this point without creating an audience of faithful listeners, and you have to be, I guess, creative enough to keep their attention over not only weeks, years, but decades. Give us your starting 5 of fans who are people that you probably never knew before you got in the radio and listened to you every day, called in routinely, and probably to this day still probably call in. Who would make your starting 5 of all your fans?
Well, you had a guy named Mr. Robert Powell. Now he had been a merchant marine. He was a merchant marine, and he served and he was from the Golden Triangle area. Now, what came out of his mouth when he called was the Golden Triangle, of course. Port Arthur Lincoln, Heber, and Charlton Collin back in the day. Big Bubba Smith, their father, and all the great players who came out of the Port Arthur area. And as he got older, he adopted Rooney, the owner of Rooney at the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Art Rooney. All right.
After Art Rooney, he adopted the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. He was a big Pittsburgh Steelers football team. But now the thing where the arguments came up, we agreed on this one. In his youth, he had a chance to party with Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis. And believe me, I admired him for having the chance to do that. But the argument would come, we didn't argue about Sugar Ray Robinson, but we argued about Joe Louis and Muhammad Ali, who would have won if they fought. This man went to his grave swearing, whooping and hollering, that Joe would have knocked Ali out. So that's what I remember. That's one. The other one was a boxing fan also, who grew up in that same era, but she happened to be a lady, Agnes Chisholm. She traveled with Sugar Ray Robinson back in the day. And she swore that there was nobody like him also. And for those who don't know this, they see these entourages today with Floyd Mayweather, etc. Sugar Ray Robinson had a pink Cadillac when he fought overseas in Europe. He had his pink Cadillac shipped over. He had a midget with him that he kept around just for Jimmy and Hal to keep everybody. He had a manicurist. He had a barber. He had a masseuse. He had a cook. He had all, and then he just had some other people as friends that he would carry with him to fights. Muhammad Ali tried to hire him, and guess what? And I interviewed him right there on Dowling and Elgin in the PABA building. I'm from that Sugar Ray Robinson. And I asked him, why would you turn down a chance to work with Muhammad Ali as a trainer? He said, he called everybody little buddy. He said, little buddy, what he's doing, you can't imagine this, but I did it 10 times better than he did. And hey, man, Ali was on another level too. But the Sugar Ray Robinson, those are two. Then you had AJ, Abner Richard. He just passed. He had a deep voice. He was from the north side, Kashmir, if I'm correct. He just had surgery a month ago. He thought he had beat cancer. He rung the bell. He sent me a picture of him ringing the bell. And his son called the weekend. Pastor Manson Johnson died within hours, saying that his father had passed. So that's AJ, better known as Abner Rich. Was another one that I wanted to throw out there. Also, then you got guys like the Little Ricks, who loved to call and what I admire about him.
Oh, the same Little Rick that's on the feed, Little Rick Wilmore?
Yeah, Little Rick Wilmore from right out of Sunnyside. The thing I admire about him, he may have been able to hang back in the day, to a degree. He may not have been able to hang at 2 or 3 o'clock, but he may have been out at midnight, and he'd have been gone. So Little Rick, who's very knowledgeable of sports, and see, I admire people who have their opinions. I don't think that you have to agree with me or I have to agree with you on everything. And then you have Ben Durant, who was a judge, a very knowledgeable individual who can share stories with you about what happened 100 years ago in his family when they had the Spanish flu, and they didn't play football at Prairie View, according to information left to him by a family member. So, those are some of the people right off the top of my head that I can think of right now.
And you mentioned Muhammad Ali, and you got a chance to go and cover several of his fights back in the days. I was just watching a video this past weekend with Ali was on. It was in a comical sense because he was explaining to the host. I don't know, it was a white show he was on back in the days, and while doing it, Ali kept it kind of. It wasn't an angry black man type conversation. He basically was saying that he asked his mama one day, why is everything like white when as far as like a lot of things they call white. It's like he was watching Tarzan. He said, and Ali said he was asking his mom this. Say, Tarzan, Mom, I just don't understand. He said Tarzan the king of the jungle, but all those black people over there, they live in the jungle, and the animals don't know but they don't know how to communicate with the animals. He said he would ask things like that, which people would kind of seek. Miss America, Miss World. He mentioned, like, why was it always white? Why was angel food cake? Why is it always white and the devil's, the devil food cake is black? Why is the White House white? Santa Claus. He says, Mama, something is wrong. So this was the mindset that Ali was on as a young person in growing up in Louisville. Now, you knew Ali. Of course, you knew George Foreman more so. But back then, I noticed how he's so revered when a lot of white people get into and try to seek the approval for blacks, especially in today's culture, today's society, based on what happened since May the 25th. What are your thoughts when you hear, or can you take us back? How was Muhammad Ali, how was Cassius Clay received by most of the white people back when you covered him during that time? And how was he received when he became Muhammad Ali? Because I heard it was either worse when he became Muhammad Ali.
Right, the first memories, I have a lot of memories, but the first real memories of close thing that I remember were the trial here in Houston. He had the draft case because he moved to Houston. He lived on Ardmore Street, right off the McGregor Bayou. He moved to Houston. They changed his draft status, address to Houston. So when they changed the status, the case came up in Houston. The case was in federal court right downtown in the federal court in Houston. So while in school and working at night, I would take the mornings off and go watch the trial. And one of the things that influenced me was, without me really kind of even knowing it, was the fact that there were few, if any, black reporters there. All the reporters were white. If you go back and look at the film, you see the film. Most of the reporters, 90% of them, Houston, 1966, 67, and Ali's case, even the hearings were white guys. So you were being influenced. But the other thing that influenced me, as a 14, 15-year old, I used to go to the mosque here in Houston. I used to go right off the freeway to the mosque in the Third Ward area. Against my parents' will, of course. But I went, and because I wanted to see for myself, why was he doing this? So I would go, and the thing that blew my mind was they put the women on one side and the men on one side, and they patted you down when you went in. And I had never been patted down before for anybody. So, but the message, Minister Raymond X was the minister, and they talked, of course, they shared a lot of history that many people would find that was hate talk. Many people thought it was hate talk, but some of us, it was an eye-opening talk in regards to what was happening. But the Sunday, you had about 25 or 30 people there. It was 2 times a week, a Wednesday, a Friday, I think a Friday and a Sunday. 2 weeks I went. But the thing was, when Muhammad Ali came, the word got out, Ali was training for a fight here, so they had him come. I had never, and now I'm about 15 then, I had never been around in a place where this many pretty black women came. And they were patted down by the sisters, but the place was packed with the sisters. They had about 7 or 8 white reporters. They put them on the front row. When they left, they had turned red as a ripe tomato because of what the minister was talking about in regards to how whites have treated us in this country. And to me, again, it wasn't hate talk. It was just the honest truth about how you could become a better person. And those are some of my early memories of Muhammad Ali. Then again, later on, I would meet him on True Street. Are you familiar with True Street in the Honey Hole?
Absolutely.
That is not.
No, sir. No, sir.
I'll let Jimmy tell you what a honey hole was.
That's Lloyd Wells.
Tell us when we get off the air.
Lloyd Wells' house off of True Street.
Lloyd Wells, man. I've been there.
Yeah, you know what a nickel sandwich and grill shop is?
I got to take Howard through there.
No,
I got to take
I'm
him through
not going,
there.
man. You done took me enough places.
They tore the house down. The family tore the house down. They don't want any memories.
They tore it down?
Yeah, the house is gone. The house that he had is gone. All the pictures and everything. So, Lord, and it was a place where many athletes would congregate back in the day. Will Chamberlain, when he came like that, Bill Russell, they all went up through there. Then all the local guys all went through there. The attorney Jerry Boney, David Latin, all of us went through there because we learned from Lloyd, the judge, he preferred to be called, who was the first black full-time scout in the NFL, worked for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the reason the Chiefs played in that first Super Bowl. He's the reason Otis Taylor should be in the Hall of Fame, number 89, out of Worthing and Purview. who played in the first Super Bowl, then they came back 3 years later and won the Super Bowl. They lost to Green Bay the first, came back 4 years later and won over Minnesota. And that's him, number 89, had to tip it down the field. He pushes inside the little defensive back.
Yeah.
We saw it many times here in Houston and out in the sunny side over at Worthing High School from Otis Taylor. But the judge, one night, Ali was playing for a fight, and he said he's going to come right through that door. So everybody sitting there that Ali was going to come over here. The judge would have picked him up. And so somebody said, how's he getting over here, Judge? He said, I don't know how, a bunch of guys sitting around. I don't know how he getting over. He gonna knock on that door in a minute. And sure enough, he knocked on the door, and Wells hollered, who is it? And you know that theme about the champ is here?
Yeah.
That's what, we didn't hear it in no movie. We heard it right there at his front door that day. Champ is here. Muhammad Ali was, and right now the Fifth Ward, took a cab from downtown Houston to the hotel over to Wells' house to be around, and he put it some brothers.
Hey, well, we go to a quick break and come back for our last segment, because speaking of Lloyd Wells, I had a topic to bring up which actually included him, and I want to present that to you when we come back, and it pertains to HBCUs and top athletes deciding to go to HBCUs. If that was the movement, if Lloyd Wells of old was living in Houston today, just hold that thought, and we'll entertain it when we come right back on the Chop Shop.
I'll be right in. Thank you.
Racism isn't just simply an intentional act of discrimination. My colleague Imani Perry says that racism is a cultural practice that offers us language, right, to make sense of the world. Here's the example I want to use, and this is why I want you to how this is relevant to today. I believe that global warming is real. I think the planet is dying. But if you look at my house, you would think that I didn't believe global warming was real at all. You look at my light bulbs. You look at how I use water. You look at the car that I drive. I'm making choices daily that reproduce, right, the very effect that I claim I'm against. There's a way of living in the United States that reproduces differential outcomes, that's tethered to the history that I just laid out. We have a form of policing that's bound up with a set of assumptions about particular communities as being inherently criminal, as particular bodies as being inherently dangerous, and therefore must be aggressively policed. It's almost as if Black communities are still under the slave codes and still approached as if they're under the slave codes. Derek Chauvin did not view the humanity of George Floyd, right? That officer in Atlanta did not see the humanity of Rayshard Brooks, because he, right, is in some ways has been socialized into a way of seeing the world that's saturated with a host of racial habits. And the only way we're going to get out of this is we got to be truthful about who we are and what we've done. We got to confess, because that's the only way we can be forgiven.
Jim, welcome back to the best 120 minutes of your day. The Chop Shop, the nation's #1 urban sports talk show. Also your midday sports happy hour. Yours truly, Robert Hatter, alongside Jim Hicks. We got the legend, Ralph Cooper, on the phone line. He on the hotline today. Ralph, I mean, this is the first day. Hey, I never thought nobody could come on this show and just me and Jimmy I don't even want to talk. I just want to listen to you. So, Jimmy, get back to Ralph and let Ralph finish.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
But Jimmy, let me just tell him this. When I played basketball, we had so many great basketball players out of T. In the Nashville area, they used to have a nationwide tournament for Black high school. And Hillsborough High School out of Houston went there and represented quite well. This was in the 40s and 50s, if I'm correct.
Oh.
Wheatley High School back in the day the great coach John McClendon, who learned basketball from Dr. Naismith, and he ended up coaching at Tennessee State. And one of the things that he wanted to do, he had this great tournament in the Nashville area on the Tennessee State. Imagine this. Now, you guys are basketball guys. You're bringing in all the top black basketball teams, high school in the nation during that time for this nationwide tournament. And guess what? They're on your campus. Guess what? What do you think many of them went to school? End up going to school. Right there at Tennessee State. And the other historic, of course, they went to other historically black schools also because of the times. But that was how smart this man was, to be able to pull that off and get all those schools, all those school teams, high school teams on that campus back then. With John McClendon, first professional basketball coach, if I'm correct, he was before Bill Russell. He coached the Cleveland Pipers, who were in the American Basketball League. And guess who owned the team at that time?
Who owned it?
A young George Steinbrenner, who ended up owning the Yankees. He came out of Cleveland, Ohio. And he owned that team, Cleveland Pipers, and he hired John McClendon as the coach of the team way in the day.
Wow.
I didn't even know that. That's some good black history. I mean, some good, not black history, some good history right there. And it makes sense. Now, speaking of, Ralph, the story, Lloyd Wells, the late Lloyd Wells, a lot of people in Houston, people like him, if we don't talk about him from time to time, then it would be that means we're doing a disservice for people, young people that are coming up who did not know a lot of the things that he did. And when it comes to sports and the figures in this city, how powerful was Lloyd Wells in sports? And I'm talking about like in the underground or the underbelly, I would say, of sports.
Well, he was the legend. He was not only, but he did things. Before blacks, when the schools were segregated, before blacks could play in these all-star games in the state of Texas, he created a high school all-star game. It's a football game and a basketball game. The basketball game was held on the Texas Southern campus in Old Adams Gym back in the day. You had Bill Russell and Will Chamberlain to come to Houston to view the talent that played in the game. And there was a lot of talent that played in the games. You had a high school football all-star game. And that's one of the reasons Bubba Smith and some of those black guys out of the Beaumont area ended up at Michigan State, Southern Cal, or wherever they ended up going to school out of the Beaumont area, because you had those coaches that came down here, or their scouts that came down here and looked at the talent. And like I said, he was before his time, and he did all of this through black newspapers. The radio thing had not taken off at that time, and he didn't have the support of television. You didn't have ESPN and all that. He did it the word of mouth and the black newspapers. Then he gets the job with the Kansas City Chiefs. He tried to get one with Houston Oilers, but they didn't want to. Didn't want to integrate to that degree. So Bud Adams didn't hire him. Lamar Hunt had him with the Kansas City Chiefs football team, him and Hank Stram. And they ended up with the inroad into black talent. You go back, look at the talent that they had on those teams from Kansas City from the black schools, and also they were out in the Scout, Big Ten, the teams on the schools on the West Coast, and he was to. And again, he was ahead of his time, because he didn't have a computer. He didn't have the data that they had like now. So what, you didn't know any better, so you knew the guys. Say he wanted, what kind of habits does Cliff Branch have back in the day? He doesn't smoke. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. What is his weakness? He may say, well, women. And, and he may say something, well, good is not men. And he read all this in his scouting report. He had scouting report sheets made up for him, where he could put all the data in. Even before he came up.
Hold on, Ralph. Would you say the reason Lloyd Wells was so powerful then, because we had the he can have the pipeline to the HBCUs because we wasn't permitted to go to those other schools. So we was all we had, right?
No, not really.
No,
Heather.
You had people. You had Ben Wilson. Ben Wilson came out of Aldine Carver High School. Everybody knows about Aldine, but before you could go to Aldine back in the day, there was Aldine Carver. Ben Wilson was one of the top students at Aldine Carver. In the heart of Acres Homes in the 60s, late 50s, 60s. He went to Southern Cal on a football scholarship and ended up playing for the Green Bay Packers. You'll see his name in the first two Super Bowls with the Green Bay Packers as a running back. You had people you had the great Ollie Matson, who was from Yates High School in the beginning. His family moved, and he ended up going to school on the West Coast. But you had people here being scouted, sure. The black school, but the thing that made Lloyd Wells was he was close to the coaches. He was close to the high school coaches, and he was close to the black college coaches. That's another thing that helped him tremendously. He had relationships with them while he was in the newspaper business. He wrote articles for the Forward Times, the Informer newspapers, and he played on the first football team at Texas Southern University. And before he went to the war, he became a sergeant. He was a Marine. He became a sergeant. He was a unique individual. He became a sergeant in World War II while right out of Southern University. He left out here in the Houston area and went to Southern. And then when he came back, he went and became a first member of the Texas Southern football team back in the day. So it was a unique ability to meet people and to become what they were. He was fired by the Kansas City Chiefs. Muhammad Ali hired him within a month, paid him $100,000. And one of the reasons he hired him was because of the work that he did with films. He introduced Ali to videotaping his workouts. Nobody at that time had come to him about doing that.
What you got, Heather?
So Jimmy, okay, what I'm trying to figure out here, because I think, and I don't know, Jimmy, if you're just trying to parallel, could there be a Lloyd Wells in 2020? Could there? That's what I'm getting out of what you said.
Actually, what I was getting to, I could have went. What I wanted to get to first was the thing that first question is to bring it to light that a lot of Lloyd Wells had a lot of control, but at the same time, a lot of those guys like now Big Daddy, late Latine.
Yeah.
He ended up at Texas Wesleyan, but that wasn't his first college. And Lloyd Wells is the person who went and got him in the middle. Now they don't say it on the movie. In the middle of the night, he went and got him. I think he was at Tennessee State.
Yeah, he was at Tennessee State at first. He got him out of Tennessee and moved him all the way over to because if you look at the movie Glory Road, it kind of hits on it. Remember when the older white coach was talking to Coach Haskins in the movie, the guy who played Coach Haskins in the movie, and the older guy said, "How are you gonna get David Lattin to come out here?" Remember that came out of his mouth because he knew what kind of recruit he was. But he had gone to Tennessee State. That situation didn't fit him, and there were some other schools that were trying. Guy Lewis tried to get McCoy McLemore, and who was at Yates. He ended up going to Drake, played on that NBA championship team with Jabbar and Oscar Robertson in Milwaukee. Guy Lewis tried to integrate the University of Houston with McCoy McLemore and David Lattin, early 60s, around 62 or so, 62 or 63. And the University of Houston people at that time didn't want to integrate. They came back a few years later, a year or so later, and integrated with football with Warren McVay and Coach Bill Yeoman. But see, these are some of the stories. You had Ray Whitlow out of Wounding High School, recruited by Minnesota, the University of Minnesota back in the day, and starred for the University of Minnesota. Didn't just go to school there, ended up getting a degree in engineering. But going back to what you're talking about, the thing that separated Lloyd Wells was his charisma and how persuasive and suave he was. He rode around in a Cadillac. He had the sailor hats on. You saw him when he was older. Imagine when he was younger. You in the 6th or 7th grade, he pulls up in front of your school one day, Worthing at that time, senior and junior high. He pulls up in a Cadillac. He sees 3 or 4 of you sitting out there. He said, fellas, watch my car for me. You can get behind the wheel. Just watch my car. and he was on Delta Street. No written on what I'm talking about, near Chevrolet Circle. He watched my car. We didn't know who he was. We were trying to figure out who is this man. And you know, we was behind the wheel of the Cadillac with the convertible top down, and he comes back out and gives us a quarter each. Now at that time, you could get a candy bar and 2 or 3 sodas for a quarter, and those are the type of impressions that he made on people at an early age. So he had this relationship with Otis Taylor when he was in high school. He had the relationship with David Latin when he was in high school. He grew up, and they grew up with him, and that's why he could make some of those things happen. But the thing again, I don't think what happened then happened without the parents. If you're talking about black kids going to black schools, it's got to start with mom and daddy at home, but they're cold on the ice colder in the other places.
Hey, Ralph, I heard from a young player told his dad, a young basketball player who played, I don't call his name, but his dad asked him a question. They were talking about HBCU. And Ralph, he asked his dad, he said, man, I'm going to tell y'all the problem. See, sometimes we don't listen to these young 19 years old. Oh, he said, Dad, I'm going to tell you the problem. He said, you went to HBCU, right? Dad said, yes. He said, how much money have you given back to that HBCU? The dad said 0. He said, that's why y'all ain't getting nobody at these schools. He said, man, y'all don't give back. He told this happened this weekend, Ralph.
What?
He told his daddy.
When I come back to the program, how the school, I can remember when the University of Texas didn't want any black.
Say it
and
again.
then all of a sudden, the University of Texas wants to recruit blacks.
Right.
And remember the guy you named is C-Boy Vaughn?
Yes.
C-Boy was a disciple of Lloyd Wells. C-Boy came behind Lloyd Wells. And C-Boy was hired by several schools to help recruit black players in the late 60s, early 70s, by these various schools in the state of Texas and what was the Southwest Conference at that time to help them recruit black players. And I'm just starting. I didn't know what was going on. I'm kind of caught in the middle. And one day you have Gail Sayers to come down here. He went to the University of Kansas. I shared his story with you. He comes down there representing the University of Kansas. They come down there like normal, like they normally do every year, trying to get players. But now you've got the University of Texas of Austin in the business. And, you know, I don't believe this man. I mean, I believe him to a degree, but I don't believe the impact of what he had. I'm from a C-Boy. So one night I'm at home, and a call comes in. It's a coach on the line, and he's representing the University of Texas. And he said, we're glad to have you aboard. I'm trying to steal it. The man is told, he told us, we're glad to have you aboard, and we're really sincere about getting black players up here, and we thank you, blah, blah, blah. Any information you can share with us, we would appreciate it. And, you know, we'll be getting back with you, blah, blah, blah. And it was Darrell Royal of the University of Texas, a man who several years before and indicated he didn't want any black players. And now all of a sudden he's got your home number, and he's calling, and he's asking for you to help him recruit black players. So, but it goes back now to the parents, and I go back. You have some black coaches who have been in black situations who knew how to play that game. And when I say play that game, they knew what they had to do in regards to helping people and their families. You cannot get any kid. Your alumni has to step. Texas Southern had a strong alumni at one time, all black males, and they could come up with money. And it goes back to money. You may not want to hear this. They came up with the money to help get players. If a guy, and I'm not talking about a suit, if a guy and his family needed some help.
Adam, you hear this?
I'm listening.
This is where I'm getting to.
Okay.
You had black guys going back to what happened. That was black guys, and that what the athlete told you. Tell him that you're talking to somebody who can remember. I know the names of these individuals. I met them. I know they appreciate. I was so naive. I didn't even know what I'm doing. Say I did a story on Jimmy's. Your son had a son.
Yeah.
I'm just doing the story on had a son because I like what had a son is doing.
Right.
I'm not really thinking about the impact of what he's having, or the impact that he's having for this university, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, you get a call from an alumni guy
Mm-hmm.
who says, "Hey, we really appreciate what you did. Why don't you come by? Why don't you come by the shop? Why don't you come by the furniture store?" And this is not Matthews Mac. This is before him. Why don't you come by the furniture store? And you go by the furniture store. And the man said, "How can I help you? I appreciate what you did. How can I help you?" And he said, "You need the money?" And then you look around, and he gets the buzz. "You need some furniture." I said, these are the things that are different. I'm trying to tell you. And the furniture that you picked out, say it's supposed to be at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Knock, 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 knock. 4 o'clock. The big truck outside, and they're delivering the furniture. Now I go back to the black guys who work with these schools.
You talking about the HBCUs, right?
Yeah, the Texas Southerns, the Grambling. They got some of the name athletes not only because they were black. They got them because they had alumni people who took pride. These guys were players. They were businessmen, but they were players. They had money, and they took pride in giving back to their schools at that time. And going back to that young man, he's telling the truth, because I don't see that happening these days.
There you go.
That's what's missing. The alumni and Heather, they were black. They were not white, Hispanic, Asian, yellow, red, blue, or green. They were black men who invested in those schools.
And that's, yeah.
Even back in the day, you go back and look at Grambling. How was Grambling able to get a Doug Williams and all of those people? Because they had a pipeline into the NFL. And guess what the players were doing? The players would come back and actually help coach the kids during the summer. And we're not talking about what they did otherwise. But if you got Hank Younger, Ernie Ladd, and all those kind of people coming back to help coach your team, and you Eddie Robinson, and Jimmy's from Louisiana, he knows quite well what I'm talking about.
Oh, absolutely.
He may not want to share those stories, but he's heard about what they in Southern, the Jackson State, they gave back, but they don't do it now. I agree.
Well, it takes the connection at that time, because the tenure of the coach was much long-lived than it is in the days of now. Because in schools at HBCUs, it's almost like if you do too good, then somebody's going to offer you a bag as a head coach, and you're going to leave and take that bag and go somewhere else. For most of those coaches at the HBCUs. So that means if you do too good and you win, Byron Smith is over at Prairie View, and he's been kicking butt, won the SWAC each of the past 2 seasons. And you know,
if he do
now
too good,
if Byron
wins, Jim, if he do too good, he leave. We'll just get another coach.
So that means when the next coach that comes in, he would have to have a desire to go and plant those seeds or keep those candles lit in those areas of the for his recruiting efforts. And that's the thing. Like, I remember on this show one day, I'd said, I think about a year and a half ago, Hal, we were talking on the Chop Shop, and I explained to you that at the time, if TSU wanted, just talking in a hypothetical sense, if they wanted to go and get some players, there are people out there that care enough about it, but it just might only be, they might not care enough about the coach, because you're trying to help the school, you're trying to help the coach, and then there's some trying to help both. If some people don't like the head coach, meaning that the head coach, then they're not going to want to help and go in their pockets.
Jimmy, what about just giving a certain amount of money? If everybody,
but that's not the same, Adam. That's not the same.
I'm talking about if thousands of y'all give $200 a month.
That's
do
not
you
the
know
same.
how much impact that would make?
Well, I agree with him on that. If people, they don't want to give back. Now, Prairie View's alumni, from what I'm told, gives back. But I'm talking about now. You're talking about when you sell only 100 season tickets, on average, that's not giving back.
There you go.
We just deal with the season. You claim you're an alumni.
Yes, sir.
You only have 100 season tickets. It's not fair to the football team, and it's not fair to the coach of the coach, because you claim you want to win. You're the first ones out there complaining, but you only paid for 100 season tickets.
That's unbelievable.
Football business. You want to be in the football business, but you're really not in the football business. It is a business. And you've got to give, I'm like, if you've got 10,000 people
Yes.
who would book the club with $200 each, think about that now. 10,000 people join a booster club, and the funds go to the football program, legally. And you find a way to get some things done. Think about what that would do, what that would Clarence McKinney over at Texas Southern University right now.
Coach, I'm telling you, man, these people, these HBU alumni, they gonna you're talking about, well, we gonna do this. We got the white man. This ain't got nothing to do with the white man. This got to do with y'all organizing. You know, I'm gonna tell you what I did. I did this year, right? I sent some HBCUs some information on how the University of Memphis raised money. I know it's a different dynamic, right? But I sent them the principles in how they raise money and how you can be a part of this club. You can be a part of this club. You can be a part of this club. You can be a part. I sent them the groundworks, Ralph, from how you don't have to make it like theirs, but you got to start somewhere.
And you've got to have, and like how in my opinion, you got to have the guys. You've got to have a guerrilla warfare team. You want to know what that is, in my opinion? That's the guys that the coaches, the director, and the school don't know anything about helping your program.
There you go. You got to have that bag man. That's what we call him. We call him a bag man.
But y'all, TSU got some wealthy people, man.
You don't have that, and then you don't have what Hatter's talking about, where you got the fan base where they dropping money into the booster club, and you don't have the other one. To be without both of them is really detrimental, and it's a fruitless type battle. You're going to get a few kids who are going to be caught up in the movement. They want to be, they think they're Malcolm, or they're Dr. King, John Lewis, or whatever, Obama. But you're not going. The masses are going with the money.
Absolutely.
Can you blame them?
Oh yeah. Nowadays, you can't blame them right now. I mean, that's just because you know why? Because that same coach who's persuading you to come, he will leave your butt in a heartbeat for the same money to go to another institution. And so, Ray, I want to ask you, speaking of urban and our communities, what your thoughts on? We have two questions. One is, Lyric asked, who or have you decided who you will pick, who will introduce you in your Hall of Fame enshrinement to the Radio Hall of Fame? And part two is, do you see the Yates versus Wheatley annual football game, right? Who would used to take place every? Do you see it resurging with the death, after George Floyd now and anytime soon?
Well, you got Andre Walker as the athletic director. Whatever is on my mind. Andre Walker, the athletic director of HISD, a Cashmere product.
Yes.
Texas Southern and Prairie View, a Northside guy with a lot of imagination. And I'm not going to say no that something like that couldn't happen when you put Wheatley and Yates back on the field and tie it into the community and draw, get a crowd of 20,000 or 30,000 people out there, which would be a huge boost not only to those two schools but to the HISD. And in regards to that other thing that you about, if I was doing something like, I don't know how they're going to do that if they do it. I had never really thought about that one, and I have to think about that a little bit longer because you never. I have a lot of stories to tell. I don't know who I was thinking.
Now, lastly, in all of your years of covering Houston sports, you've seen, understand, on a consistent level, you're one of the very few people in the world who has seen a consistent flow of the high school sector spanning over 6 decades, plus decades. Who would you say are your top 2 high school basketball and football players to ever have come out of Houston, who ever played in one of the Houston high schools that you've seen? And who was your best 2 basketball players that played at one of the Houston colleges that you've seen?
Well, basketball, I go with you got to go. You have to have Dwight Jones on your team. I forgot how many games they lost, 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever that period of time. And even when you go back from Wheatley to E.L. Smith, and I'm just dealing with high school. I'm just in high school was a guy who really, until the playoffs came around, didn't really get a chance to play the whole game because Wheatley was so deep at that particular time. They were going 15 or 20 deep at some points during that particular time. But one would be Dwight Jones, who played on the Olympic team, played in the NBA, and played on championship teams at Wheatley and in middle school at E.O. Smith, and died young with battling diabetes. So Dwight Jones would be one. And then you've got so many other great ones. But I go back to Wheatley again, to Eddie Owens. I saw Eddie Owens play in high school and middle school. And Eddie Owens is one of the greatest high school basketball players that ever come out here also. Many people picked him over Dwight, and then they got some picked Joe Lackey out of Wheatley over both of them. But I picked the 2 that I picked, those 2. Then you go back to Worthing, they had a Richard Gross back in the day, who was one of the great, he's on my team of great players who never played really in college. Richard Gross was a Magic Johnson in the mid-'60s at Worthing High School, about 6'5", 6'6". We asked to hear the old timers what he could do. He was unreal. Football-wise, you've had so many great ones that come through here. Vince Young, you have to have him on your list because he could play both ways. And everybody knows him as a quarterback, but he could go back to the games and see what Coach Field did with him at various times. He had him playing what? He had him playing safety.
Yeah, safety.
And now the other one, I mean, you could go a lot of different ways with this one, and locally or in high school. And I'm just going in the Houston area. You had so many other great ones to come out of here, but when you trying to pick another one is really a hard one to pick.
Come on now, Ralph. Come on now. That's an easy one.
No, it's not that easy because you've had so many great ones. I gave you this, but I'm gonna give you another one. In my opinion, and he played defense. He was knocking people's heads off in defense back in the day. The first time I saw him, he was reading the Bible in the locker room, and the coach said, "Hey, this is the baddest young man to ever come through his family. He had come through a family of some real rough and tough people." He said, "This is the baddest one to come through," and he's playing football. It was hard to believe because he was reading the Bible. Until he put the Bible down and came out on the football field, and left 3 or 4 people knocked out back in the day before they had all these rule changes. I'm talking about Michael Singletary out of Worthing. He's on this also. So I'm going, you saw it went one way with one and the other way with the other one. Those are 2 over the top of my head that, but like I said, there's been so many. And I don't think I missed too much of those 2. And I'm sticking strictly to when they were in high school. Another bad one was Jacob Green out of Cashmere. He's underrated. He played 10 or 12 seasons in the NFL, played at Texas A&M. In high school, this guy was a monster.
I was wondering when you was gonna name a Cashmere. You named all these Worthing players. You threw in 2 Wheatley players. I'm just watching you. I'm watching you.
Maybe Cashmere players just really wasn't that good, man.
The greatest greatest running back, never got a chance to really play in high school that much. One of the greatest running backs that ever come out here. And you had Rodney Hampton and Jerry Scales, of course, out of Cashmere. You had a whole bunch of other runners. But Johnny Bailey.
That's what I'm waiting on you to name. That's what I'm waiting on you to name.
Bailey out of Yates.
In high school?
I heard about that dude.
He only got about 6, 7, 8 carries a game in some games because he was playing against weak teams. He may have scored 3 touchdowns just touching the ball 2 or 3 times.
I heard about him.
Multi-purpose.
Dude, it was a point where with Johnny
He didn't
Bailey.
go to Cashmere though.
No, he went to Yates. He went to Yates. No, that team was one of the greatest teams, probably the greatest team in the history of the state. People from Dallas Carter would beg to differ, but those two, and they have a Yates movie coming out. Dallas Carter, you got to realize that their undercurrent was those kids that end up getting charged with some offenses, some criminal mischief. But Yates.
And also the Aldine team, the Aldine High School football team. Remember them? They won one of the USA Today's first high school football championships in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
Aldine High School back in the day. So we've had some teams.
What you didn't mention Carl Crawford. Is he in consideration?
You should
Ralph?
have a long time, Ralph.
Ralph may have.
Y'all lost.
Ralph
okay.
may have. He may have lost his signal.
Yeah,
Ralph.
he talked his phone out.
The Cashmere guards looked down on him and saw him naming all those wording players and didn't disrespect.
I did not realize how many Cashmere people on this line. I did not understand. See, y'all, I didn't go to no high school up here, but I did not realize, y'all. But y'all got to realize, hold up. Wait a minute. Rodney Hampton. Okay, I remember Rodney Hampton. Y'all, Rodney Hampton. Okay, I done heard of that name, but I ain't heard nobody else. I done heard of Rodney Hampton all over the globe. Y'all got to give me some, other than Jimmy, Rodney Hampton and Jimmy. What else y'all done done? Wait a minute. Where did Alvin Brooks? Alvin Brooks went where? Where did Alvin Brooks go? Huh?
Alvin Brooks went to Wheatley. He went to Wheatley.
Yes, Alvin Brooks. Right. I'm going to leave you with these names of the greatest athletes all around that I've ever seen come out of this thing. And I know I'm missing somebody.
These multi-sport, 2 or more sports stars, with football being one of them.
Right. Carl Crawford, football, baseball, basketball, or whatever, track and field at the old Jeff Davis High School, what now Northside High School, one of the greatest to ever come through here. Lester Hayes, Wheatley High School, could play everything.
Okay.
Anything you name, Mr. Hayes could just about do it. They've had some others that come. Tony Cheatman out of Wheatley, who was probably the greatest he's one of the greatest all-around ones. Also, he went to Pan American, not Texas A&M, what is that, Edinburgh or whatever it is down there?
Yeah, it was Pan Am.
When he came, he could play everything. When he finished playing basketball at that school, Gil Branner, the Dallas Cowboys, tried to get him to come to Dallas and play with the Dallas Cowboys. And then you go to Eldridge Small out of Wheatley High School, who played different sports. Roland Top-Eye Rogers, Worthing, he could swim. You had swimming, football, basketball, he could play tennis, golf, baseball. Roland Top-Eye Rogers, who became a coach over at Jones High School back in the day, one of the greatest to come through it. George Walker, running in the nines back in middle school, or junior high school then at Ryan Middle School. Football, basketball, track and field, and in my opinion, his best sport was football, but he chose to play basketball, went on to Purdue. In his very first high school game, he scored 2 touchdowns running the ball, but decided he didn't want to play football anymore. But throw that name in there also, George Walker. And again, I know I'm missing some names. These are right off the top of my head. Euro Sloppy Joe Johnson.
Oh my God, Sloppy Joe! Come on, Ralph.
Why they call him Sloppy Joe, Ralph? Why they call him Sloppy Joe?
He come to a game anyway, and with some Thunderbirds back in the day. But Sloppy Joe, and he's just sloppy.
Oh man!
Euro Sloppy Joe Johnson, one of the greatest athletes to ever come through Houston, and could play anything. Anything he wanted to do in sports, he could do it. And like I said, I know I'm missing some names. I apologize to those that I may have missed. This is right off the top of my head. And but you got so many memories of great people coming out of here, and they can do anything in regards to sports. And those are just right off the top of my head, right there. Okay.
Now,
and George Walker is on the top of that. George Walker is in that list.
now, lastly,
Jimmy, you said lastly a long time ago. You gonna
I
kill
know.
Ralph. Ralph got a show to do, man.
I know he. I just had one more, and this is
Okay.
important.
The coaches these days won't let these kids play that many sports. They won't let them play. Those guys went from one sport to the other, and sometimes played two at the same time. They left the baseball game and then went to the track meet. Name a coach that would do that now.
No, not many. Not nowadays.
Oh my God.
Here's what I want to ask you, Ralph, and that is, and being in the media, and you're the king of the what is known as black media, and when it comes to narratives, what advice do you have? Or first, I'm going to ask you: have you ever got in front of a story and created or produced your narrative, in support? Like, say, if back in George Foreman days, if somebody else was talking bad or something about him, and then you got out there and you presented that narrative so that it can help the community or offset the onslaught from the other side of the conventional mainstream media. Did you ever have to be in that situation and create a narrative and for to help, one of our, in sports? If so, what are your advice on doing so? Is it worth it? And I'm trying to see what I'm getting at. Is it worth it? Have you done it before? And on the long game, when should you do that? Or should as black people in media, should we feel compelled and not even look both sides and see, should we just go out there and put out and insert our narrative in for the betterment of our athletes on a more gallant scale?
Well, I think that was one of the things that I've enjoyed doing because, okay, you mentioned George. See, what most people don't know about George Foreman is how they know that he likes dogs. They know that he busted his head up. They know that he went to Africa and fought Muhammad Ali. They know that he had some tough times over in the Fifth Ward growing up. And they know he dropped out of high school when he was supposed to be at Wheatley. But they don't know for an example of the given. They don't know they don't know of how Muhammad Ali would give. A guy came up to Ali one time and told him that he wanted to open a barber shop. And Ali asked, "How much? What are you talking about? How much money are you talking about?" And he said $3,000 or $4,000. He reached in his pocket and came out with $3,000 or $4,000. People don't do that these days. He reached in his pocket and he counted out $4,000, right at $4,000. And he went to hand it to the guy. He said, "Hold it a minute. Let me keep a couple of these so I have something in my pocket." Get the man all of the money. So these kind of stories that people need to know, I think that these guys are human beings, even the ones now. They're human beings, and people nowadays, what they're doing, unlike it was when I was coming up, they don't want you all to know these guys. So you've got to form. This is one of those relationships that you have down there in middle school and with AAU ball and high school is so important, because when they get to the colleges, more so to the pros, they're going to try to keep you away from it, because they know that these individuals in most cases are given, and they're going to help others who look like them. But the fewer they know, guess what happens? The less they will help. So you have to, those relationships that you're forming down there, you have to keep those relationships going. Just like I did when I came up. I met George Foreman when I was 19. I saw him at a party one night before he fought Ali, when the fight was announced. He said, "Do you want to come to the fight? Or when you going to call me about coming to the fight?" And I said, I want to come. He said, I have somebody to call you. 2 or 3 days later, that was all set to make me, to show you how things happen. But you have to have those relationships. And if you don't, and see, like I said, they're doing the Jerome Solomons and those type guys. They're not getting. They're doing well. Alan Coleman, but you've got some people don't want them to be as close as. They don't want them to have a Lloyd Wells type relationship with those, or a C-Boy Vaughn had back in his day, or Ralph Cooper in his earlier days. They want to keep, like I said, they want to keep you away. Just look at what's happening. They time how long you can be with them. And see, like, I never was a locker room guy anyway. My thing was on the bench, down the batting cage, or was on the dugout, or whatever, or away from the game. But you just look at some of the things that are happening, and they'll say that it's because the AAU guys are not that good, or whatever. But hey, they're doing good because they were there, or they're there for them at that particular stage in life when they need them. So you can't cut these people out of cut them out of the game. But many people try to cut them out of the game. They've been there the whole time. How you gonna cut them out of the game? How are you going to not let me get an interview? And I interviewed them first, and they still remember that. And they want to do it now because they're on that other level, and they remember what you did for them when they were young. So that's what I'm sharing with you right now. So going back to what you're saying, just tell the truth and put the word out there and let them know how to handle the fathers. See, everybody wants to throw them. They all throw their mamas out there, but a lot of them want to throw their dads out there. Let them share their stories and how and what their battle to become. Because when you think about it, some of the greatest athletes I see on TV on a weekly basis are running out of stolen cars. I see All-American, Hall of Fame defensive backs jumping out of a stolen car in a police chase. And we don't want to give accolades to the young people who are doing the positive things. We can't do it enough, in my opinion. We don't have enough airwaves to do it. But we should do as much as we can. I hope that makes sense.
Hey, man, well said. Ralph Cooper, we appreciate you. We definitely thank you. And when, let them know where they can watch you this evening from 5 to 7, and how can they watch you on your show on Sports Wrap. Plus, can you share with us the details? When is the Hall of Fame enshrinement and where?
Well, depending on what they do, they normally do that up in November. That's the Texas Radio Hall of Fame. I want to thank all of the people who voted for me, especially those in sports, like Barry Warner, Tom Franklin, who at one time was over at, we did the All the games back in the day. Yes, Michael Harris, Don Sands, Wash Allen. I want to thank all of those people and others. Patrick Creighton over at Rice University. I want to thank all of them. And, in regards to, you can catch me at 5 to 7 a day on Facebook. And you can also catch me at 12:30 a.m. on KCOH Radio, 12:30 a.m. Facebook at 5. KTSU Saturday mornings at 8:30 on Saturday mornings with Devin Wade. And then the BNet. BNet, most people don't know anything about this one. BNet is an internet station like yours. And one that I enjoy doing, I do it with Sonia Rivera. And we talk about black and white and Mexican, Hispanic thoughts and all that good stuff. So those are some of the places where you can catch me. And again, Jimmy, I want to thank, I want to thank Jimmy and his family for what they've meant to me. Jimmy, I'm quite familiar with Jimmy's family. His uncle and aunt was about close to me. His uncle Otis is no longer here, but he became a friend in a long roundabout way, which made a better Ralph Cooper, believe it or not. And so I can't thank Jimmy and his mother, and I think it was what was your grandmother's name?
Yeah, Mama Zama. Yeah.
Jimmy's grandmother and his mother Edna.
Yeah.
Jimmy may not want to share with you. They molded Jimmy, Hatter. He was a little diaper boy.
Yeah,
You know,
he was hard headed. He was hard headed. I know that they put something in him, but he was just hard headed. You're hard headed with me every day, so I know what he used to do with his mama.
And like I said, in the life of a young Ralph Cooper, they have, in a roundabout way, and things happen for a reason. And see, one thing that I've learned in regards to women, if you listen to them, you have to listen to them. You may not want to listen to them, but they share with you things that maybe you don't even see in yourself. And Jimmy's grandmother, believe it or not, was one of the first, and I remember was one of the first persons to ever tell me. She said, "You don't know who you are. You don't know how many blessings that you have coming your way, and you know you need to just take a moment and think about all the blessings that you are about to experience." And that stuck with me. I'm talking about in my early 20s. I had to be about 22. And his grandmother told me that. But she reminded me of my grandmother. You don't know who you are and how great and what you can achieve by being what you are. She said you're a positive person. So thank you, Mr. What's your last name, Hicks?
Chop shop. That's Haller.
The bagger. I'm talking to Bagger. You said Bagger.
Yeah.
And I lost my memory. So anyway, I want to thank you all for having me on your program. And I hope I didn't get long-winded. And I want to thank you for the congratulations and all that stuff. And thanks for this.
Oh, man.
People don't do this enough.
Yeah.
At the age I am now, I need inspiration. I thank you all for the inspiration you bring.
I got
you. Don't know what I mean.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate it, man. Thanks, guys, and thanks you guys so much in the Boom Boom Room for all of the comments and to keep this thing, keep it live, because you know you can go back and watch today's show in its entirety on either YouTube or Facebook. We are streaming on both platforms simultaneously, and we definitely, this is a good therapeutic blast to the past indeed with the legend Ralph Cooper. And so, I mean, so much.
And your uncle thought he could play dominoes.
Oh, he could play a little bit. He could play now. He could play. I didn't want a little money with him. Me and him went over there to the honey.
I knew that was gonna bring that out of it.
Yeah.
You don't want to share to people that. You just let people know. Jimmy comes to you saying he can't play dominoes, or he's still learning the game. Don't believe that. He learned from one of the best.
Jimmy can't play. I can't play a lick. So
he ain't say that, Harold. He say if I tell you I can't play.
Yeah. Okay.
Don't believe that.
I ain't never heard nobody say you the domino.
I'll see you all later. Thanks very, very much.
No, they know that.
Okay.
I don't want a little change off the dominoes. I mean, Harold, I was a math guy. I ran numbers. You think I couldn't count to 28? Come on now. Come on. But anyway,
I know how to count to 7 and 11.
What? Harold, I was playing 4, 5, 6. That's what he know that in fifth ward. I was playing 4, 5, 6 when I was about 7 years old. I knew how to shoot dice fluently. Our Monopoly boards never had the dice in them. And that was one thing about the hood. You had Monopoly games, you had all that stuff over there. No dice in the Monopoly boards. Never was dice in there.
Have you ever wondered why when we in Vegas, I disappear on y'all for a little while? I'm in that room. But man, let's get out of here.
So anyway, guys, it's time to get up out of here. I want to get one in this before as we land this plane. Want to send a happy birthday wish out to Walt Yates Jr. His father, Walt Yates Sr., would have been 80 years old today, and of course he passed away a couple of years ago. And longtime high school coach Walter Yates Sr. So we're landing the plane on that note as we get ready to slide on down Dino's back and yabba dabba do this thing on this Monday. We want to thank you guys. That was, for real, it was therapeutic because, coming out of of other conversations, you never know when it's the last time you're going to talk to people.
It's a great point.
And so for
Great point.
this. Understand, this is the Radio Hall of Fame.
Yes. Great
When
point.
he gets his speech, they're going to give him 3 minutes or 2 minutes or 5 minutes to talk. So I wouldn't dare, and I was thinking it all the while Ralph was talking, let him go. Because
Yeah.
this is there's not going to be ever another person's platform that's going to allot him to speak for an hour and a half straight. Remember that. So that means we're part of history for sitting there and opening up our airways. And then the last hour was commercial free. We bought up the ads. So that's what you got to think about as far as that.
And Jimmy, I just want to add something. I thank y'all because guess what? I've never been on a show with Ralph. You've had the advantage of being in the studio with him. I've never been in the studio. So I just sat back, people laughing at me. I got crazy faces. But I was sitting back soaking it up. I'm going to go back and watch it again because, yes, I got a chance to I got a chance to be on here with Ralph Cooper, a guy when I first come to this town, a guy I was just listening to, him in the sports mouth, Barry Warner. Y'all made me remember him. But so that's it. So we can really slide down on Dito's back now and yabba dabba do this thing. And I'm out of here, man. Talk to y'all later. We out.
All right. Peace to you guys tomorrow. Chop, chop.
Jim Hicks, Rider, you are now tuned in to the Chop Shop. I'm Retro, let's get it. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, I'm talking sports talk. So turn your dials up, it's live in the Chop Shop. We in the Chop Shop, we live in the Chop Shop. We talking sports talk, we live in the Chop